All right, we are back in the booth tonight on Thursday night, and we are going to do a handcrafted swim bait. It is a Roos Shad slow sink 9-inch 7.3 ounce bait. This is a large bait. I don't think I've ever painted anything this big. I'm going to make this for me, and the pattern that I'm going to paint it in is going to be this alternative gizzard shad that I did on a influencer, and I'm going to paint it on this for me. There's large gizzard shad where I live, and I'm going to give it a shot and see if I can catch some largemouth and stripers on it. So let's get to it. It is very big. It's got these door hinge type swings on it. I've never done one of these, so this is going to be something new. So I'm just going to cover the bait first in a House of Colors base coat white, and I'm not going to try to pick it up much because it's so large. It's going to probably take a couple of coats on this, because it's not like a regular swim bait where I can rubber band these hinges. So I'm just going to take my time. I'll do this video in parts, and I'll get it done. You can already see it wants to move really easily. It is very heavy. I don't want to. I've already done that, unfortunately. So I'm just going to take my time with it. It already comes in that white resin looking color, but I'm still going to put white over this. I'll end up having to pick this up. Let it dry for just a second. Then we'll try to stand it up and get this bottom. Like I said, it is a very big and heavy bait. I'm gonna have to reload. I filled the cup up and it still ain't enough. Let it dry for just a second. It wants to move because it's got some weight on it. Set it back up, straighten it out, hit this top again. These resin baits, the texture of them is very kind of rough and pitted. I sanded a little bit on it. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry. I actually got this bait from Jonathan Wampler. He was kind enough to sell me one so I could try it out. I don't do a whole lot of these big swim baits. I've kind of gotten so I like them. In my last video, I did a big swim bait, which I really love that bait. I want to get my hands on one for me. That was actually for a customer, but I'm gonna keep this one for me. I know the company is out of Australia. I've heard nothing but good things about them. So we're gonna see what we can get into tonight. So I'm gonna let that just dry for just a second. I'll get my paints out. That I'm going to use tonight. It's not going to be a super difficult pattern to paint. It's just kind of basic. That's really what I'm looking for. I'm going to take this House of Colors Show Me the Money green. It's a custom color they have. It's a very cool color. It really resembles a Gizzard shad on the top. Shake this up really good. Let this dry just for a second. I put a lot of paint on it. Get some in the gun. This is a really nice green. Really nice. I'll try to turn this where we can see it. And I'm gonna let a little bit go down the side. Not a little too much on that side. Get the tips of this thing green, and I'll come down the sides here. I'm gonna leave that kind of white, the fin anyway. I'm gonna have to reload. I gotta fix this because when it starts leaning, it's a heavy lure. It is not something to play around with. I mean, I was surprised the helping hand. I didn't know how I was going to be able to do this. So we've reloaded up. I'm going to come down a little farther on these sides because I'm going to run a scale pattern on it. Like I said, this is not a hard pattern to paint. Like I said, I'm going to leave those fins. I'm just going to do the outside edge. And green. That's just what I like. You can do it whatever way you would like. I'm going to come a little bit down this back of it with green by the tail. If I can get it not to fall off. Okay. Let that dry. And we'll hit another coat of it on there. Like I said, I want to come down just a little bit because I'm going to put a scale on it. I'm going to go ahead and hit hit the eye, because I'm going to use a black and silver eye on this, so it should match up really good. Okay, so we're going to let that dry just for a second. I'm going to clean the gun out. Then I'm going to put a little bit of black in the gun, and we'll play around with the kill dot, and I'm going to do some dots around the face and maybe coming down the lateral line on this one. So let me grab my black paint. I mean, a lot of people are doing the kill dots a lot different. Some of them don't like them round. Some of them like them kind of oblong, just a weird shaped dot. They're all kind of shapes on these bait fish. So you can kind of do what you want to. Sometimes I do the perfectly round ones like I did on this one. I'll show you. On the influencer I did one that was perfectly round, and I just kind of outlined the fin, and I think I'm going to do the same with this one. I just kind of like that look. I just think it looks kind of natural. So this bait being so big, I'm going to step this. I think what I'm also going to do is take it out of this. Just pull my camera back. It draws very quickly. This thing is so heavy, it's really kind of hard to manage it in those helping hands. So I'll turn the camera up so we can see. And what I'm gonna do is just take a few, put a few of these small dots just around the face, and I'll turn it this way so we can see it. I'm not gonna go all over it. I'm just gonna put some right here on the, just like that. And I'll flip it over, and we'll do the same thing. It's pretty much just on that first set of gill plates that are there, just to give it a little bit of a different look. Grab a stencil real quick. I mean, like I said, this is a pretty good sized bait. I mean, you can use any kind of circle that you have. Just got to make sure you line it up correctly. I'm constantly screwing this up, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up about in, I'll just look at the top, and I'll come up to the high side, and I'm just going to put one here. I'm not going to do it real dark. Just get it on there. And I'll just flip it over and do the same thing. I'll just go right off that round bend. Just take it off here, come up off the round bend, line it up. I'm not going to do it super dark. Just enough for it to see it, just to be there. Then we'll turn it over here. And these gills, I don't have anything. I'm trying to see what I have that I can kind of use to outline this gill with. You just got to have a decent piece of plastic to do it. This one's actually, I think I've got a bigger. This one will probably work with me just moving it around. So all I'm gonna do is just put a little shadow on it, just so it'll have something. And I'll just keep moving it as I go. And just, oop, that wasn't good. Yeah, don't ever spray after you done dipped it in an alcohol bath. Just spray it off on something. All I'm wanting to do is just put a little highlight on it. I'm not trying to do a lot here. Just darken it up a little bit. It's a big fin, and I'm sure I've got bigger stencils, but I didn't plan on doing a video tonight. So we'll just come down the edge. It looks like he had a problem with his mold right here. It kind of sucked in a little bit. And like I said, all I'm going to do is just kind of run a little bit of a shadow on it. I mean, you could run lines across it. You could do whatever you want to. It's pretty well set up for that. So we'll flip it over and do the same thing to this side. Like I said, a lot of these stencils have multiple stencils on them, so that kind of makes it kind of nice. Where you can kind of just play with it a little bit when you have something like this. It's really a little bit bigger than what I normally paint, and I can kind of keep it somewhat in line. And then I'll just flip it over and just run it down. Just connect it up a little bit. Got a little dry tip in my gun. Okay, there you go. All right. So now I'm gonna look at this and see if my green's down far enough, and it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a little silver in the gun. We're going to clean this out. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to do anything else to this. I may put a few of the small ones on here now that I'm looking at this. I know I got it in here. Here it is. Put that a little bit on the front. Yeah, I think that makes it give it a little bit better look. Okay. We'll find something to lean it back onto. Probably this right here will do fine. So I can kick it up in the air, because I want to be able to do my scale pattern. And we're going to use the tips only scale pattern for this. We're going gonna get some silver in the gun. We're gonna clean this out. Black out of the gun sometimes it's a little bit messy. I'm not the tidiest in the world. All right, so what we'll do, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do first before we even get into that. We're going to take the texture stencil and I'll do the scales last. Let me find the one that I like to use, and that is this one. And we're going to do some silver on these sides to kind of make it a little bit give it that beat up look. So we're going to take some iridescent silver fine and we're going to put it in the gun. If I can get tip unclogged. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put it on the body here. Get that roughed up look that I like on my Shad. That gives it a nice, it'll give it a nice sheen to it when it's done. We'll let that dry. Like I said, this is a very big bait. It weighs 7.3 ounces. I'm gonna have to have I've got a big musky rod I can throw it on. And I'll throw it for bass and stripers. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go ahead and do the scale pattern on this side while it's just sitting here. And this is just the tips only. And it does a really cool job. Turns out really nice. Slide it down just a little bit so I can get it under the camera. Tell you what we're gonna do with this. We're also gonna, let me grab my scissors. I'm gonna cut this stencil so I can get it up on there. All I've done is I just took a pair of scissors and I just cut the stencil off at the top, that excess piece of plastic. It really doesn't do it any good anyway. You've got to be able to get, I've got to lay it up here anyway on this, by this fin, so it's going to work out pretty good. Just ain't dark enough. Go. That kind of gets it on there, and then we'll lay it. It's kind of hard. I need my sponge. I'm in my other shop. I don't have my sponge with me. I still haven't moved everything over into this shop. Well, I can just lay it flat and get this tail piece. Okay, that looks good. We'll let this dry and I'll let you look at it. Get the eyes on it, it's really going to come to life. So we'll spin it around and I'll set it up here. And we'll go ahead and get this done real fast. I kind of like the middle of this stencil. I don't want to get it on my kill dot. I like this one section of this pattern the best. It gives it the size that I'm looking for in what I'm trying to do. And I'll just stick it on here and just hit this. Okay. Let that dry. Go ahead and put the scale pattern on it. Try to get it up in the air a little bit for me. Flip it around the right way. Okay, that was a lot easier to do. So we'll let that dry just for a second. I think I'm gonna make those kill dots. Well, maybe not. It's got I don't want it super dark. I'd rather it be a little bit faint. And we'll go ahead and get the eyes ready for this. This is, like I said, this is not a hard pattern to paint. It gives it a really nice look. And after you put the 2K clear on it, it's really gonna pop. So we'll put the eyes on it really fast and then we'll hit it with a coat of UVLS. I'm gonna take this silver out of this gun real fast. But it is a very nice bait. I tell you, y'all need to go check him out. I think he's on Facebook. I just looked into it when me and Jonathan were talking and I was talking about getting this bait. But I'm really impressed with the quality of it. It's very nice. I don't think you'd go wrong getting a bait from him. I did look on his Facebook page where he's got other baits, so he does have more than just a shad. And I think he's got a smaller shad. I think this is just what Jonathan had, and I just wanted to paint one. I wanted my own. And it just worked out really good for me. I usually don't have to glue these eyes, but I'm going to put a dab of glue on them because of what I'm going to be fishing for. I'm just going to put it right there in the middle. And I'm going to peel this back and get me one of these eyes back here. And these are 10mm eyes. They really make the bait look good. I know these swim baits are a big craze, especially after Ben Milliken went out there and won that Bassmaster Open. That was very cool. So we're gonna let that dry just for a second, and we'll put it back in the helping hands and we'll hit it with some UVLS. Look at what you think. I'll put it back over here and let you look at it. It actually turned out really nice. I think it's going to be a nice fish catcher. Very basic, not a whole lot to it. We're going to mix this up some UVLS and get it in here and just put a little coat on it before I put the top coat on it. Just kind of seals those paints in and it just does a lot better job. So I'm using the UVLS clear, the high gloss, and I put a little bit of 4011 in there, and we'll just spray this around for a minute and get a little nice coat on it. So all we're going to do is just get a coat of it on here, cover it all. It'll give it a nice shine. Get the bottom really good. Doesn't have to be a super heavy coat. I mean, you want it to be on there wet. Especially with these resin baits, when I'm fixing to hit them with 2K clear, I want to make sure that this stuff dries and it's got time to set up. I probably won't do it till tomorrow. But I just was going to do a quick video tonight. I'd never painted one of these giant baits, but a little shout out to Kanga baits from Australia, the Roos custom bait blanks. This is my alternative gizzard shad in it. Hope everybody enjoyed the video. Like I always say, I'll catch you next time. Thanks.